I'm just suggesting that we understand that toxicity really is hitting us from so many directions,
Mhm.
and that when we think like, I could manage this stuff before, why can't I manage it anymore? Well,
Mm.
maybe you're not managing it now, and it's not just because of like the reduced amount of energy you have due to aging. Maybe it's that they installed a new smart meter on your house and now you're not sleeping soundly, and now you're, never being able to do the repair and maintenance work that your body needs to do overnight. Like, there are just so many ways this shows up. It shows up in toxic chemicals. That's another thing that um so many people have eliminated gluten. And honestly, other than making bread really yummy, gluten really has no nutritional value, right?
Mhm.
But it isn't as much the gluten as it is the chemicals that they spray on the grains to get them through our food chain. And so those are some things that, again, in some countries, a lot of people can go to Europe and they can consume dairy and they can consume, I hiked across Spain last summer and I like lived on croissants, and like I would never eat a croissant here. Like, it just doesn't happen. I don't eat that kind of food, but it didn't bother me because, one, I was moving and I was outside a lot, but they don't use the chemicals in other countries the way we do here. So it's more important to choose organic ingredients if you're cooking at home. Those organic grains are as important as the organic fruits and vegetables. And
Okay,
um and
so
so
let me ask you this just to make sure.
okay.
So when we're talking about toxic stressors, which is the topic of your book, and you talked about toxins in our diet, talked about toxins in our stress EFTs. Can you give us some more examples of toxic stressors that you address in your book and in your teaching and in your
Yeah.
practice?
Yeah. So 12 categories of toxicity are what I typically evaluate if somebody works with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is emotional toxicity, and that's what most people think of when they think of
Mm.
stress, right? But there's bacterial overgrowth, there's viral overgrowth, there is mycotoxins, mycoplasma. It's called geopathic stressors, which are these electromagnetic frequencies, the
Mm-hmm.
EMFs, fungal toxins. Some people may really be eating a lot of raw foods, and that's thought to be a really good diet, but it tends to cause a buildup of fungal toxins, sometimes mycotoxins, and bacterial toxins potentially, because when the food's not cooked, a lot of that toxicity tends to like remain on the food and be ingested, right? So um that's why it's just really important to be mindful. And when you see symptoms popping up, don't just try to whack-a-mole the symptom into
Mm.
submission. Recognize it and say, whoo, I've got a toxic buildup going on somehow, and I've got to figure out how to reverse course. I know you talk about Tony Robbins' work, and Tony talks about how he was eating fish all the
Mm-hmm.
time,
You got
and
mercury poisoning.
how he ended up with mercury poisoning, literally mercury poisoning at a level that honestly he shouldn't even have still been able to function,
Yeah,
and so
exactly.